understand. I actually agree with that take because on the one hand, right, some people say autogynephilia doesn't exist, right? They say, oh, it's just completely not real. And those are mainly like trans advocates, right? Trans rights advocates. But on the other hand, we have all the transphobic people that are like, no, it does exist and you're a degenerate.
Sum up your entire life story in 2 to 3 minutes. I want to hear it.
2 to 3 minutes. Okay.
Yes.
So I was born and then I was a baby for a little bit.
That's relatable.
And then I grew up a little bit, and then I was a boy for a little bit, and then I was depressed for a long time.
How long did that last?
From like 8 until like, it's probably still ongoing, but it's lessening.
So eight to infinity, but on a downward trend.
On a downward trend. And eventually, I do think that we will cross the axis into positive, eventually.
Okay. All right, interesting. All right. So an optimistic trend upwards here.
I don't know if I have identified with incel specifically because I was not incel. It was vol incel. I was having sex because I wanted to.
Okay, so you were a voluntary incelibate. A vol incel, yeah. Just a sex habit, right, yes. That's interesting.
I was leaning into relationships a lot since I was like a little kid. I had girlfriends since before I was even in school. I had a girlfriend pretty consistently. It's like the inverse problem of the incel.
That does explain, it's interesting. It's not quite what you would expect.
Why not?
Because the people who identify with transmaxxing, right? And this is what we'll get into later. Transmaxxing is one of these phrases that, emerges from the incel community. And it's a word that you associate yourself with, right? So what does that word mean to you, transmaxxing?
Yeah. So transmaxxing means like transitioning from male to female for personal gain. But yeah, I guess that's like the basic definition. But like, what does it mean to me is a lot more nuanced of a question.
Okay. Well, let's get into the nuance. I'm down to hear it. So did you transition for personal gain?
I have gained personally since transitioning.
Right. And I'd like to hear the specifics of how you've gained personally.
The depression is on a decline, as we mentioned in the beginning. Sometimes I feel more confident in the way that people interact with me. I actually made a whole video last night because I was freaking out about this call right now. So I made a whole video to like ease my anxieties. And in it, I kind of explained oh my gosh. Never mind. You'll just watch the video later, but...
You want to summarize quickly? Give it one sentence and don't dwell on it too much.
So a lot of people look at gender as a binary thing, man or woman. This article that I was reading explains it as a ternary thing, man, woman, or freak, right?
Man, woman, or freak?
Freak, that's the third category.
All right.
And I think that I enjoy how I get interacted with more as a woman than as a man, but I don't like how I get interacted with as a freak. So it's
if we're making a tier list of genders here. It's probably woman, man, freak.
Yeah, I think so. But that's just my personal view. Of course, everybody would have a different like ranking for how they want to be perceived.
Right, of course, yeah. And I guess mostly what I'm just trying to do is focus on your experience.
Of course.
Okay, so here's a big question that I have is, what you're describing is the experience of lots of trans people, right? They transition and then they become more confident and less depressed because the dysphoria has been eased. Why do you identify then with this term, transmaxxing? Like, why aren't you just a regular, trans person?
Well, I can be both, right? I can be a regular person and a transmaxxer.
Well, what makes you a transmaxxer is what I'm trying to get at.
That's such a tough question.
Can we maybe dissolve it into smaller questions? Are there any smaller questions that come to mind?
Okay, well, we can start with like, why do I identify with transmaxxing? I guess the question is like, how did I find it in the first place, right? I found transmaxxing after I started transitioning. But when I found transmaxxing, I read the manifesto. Have you happened to read the manifesto?
Transmaxxing manifesto. Haven't heard of that. I will say, haven't heard of that one.
Well, it's a doozy. A lot of people have reacted to it.
Can you summarize it quickly for...
Oh, it's a bunch of stuff. It like lays out how to transition essentially and like reasons why you might want to do it, like how you might benefit, how you might not benefit. Now, one issue that I do have with the manifesto as written is that